The recent fall in the oil price will have made billionaires out of a few big hedge funds, I'm sure. They will have made quite a killing. That was the drop there when it was at 85. This is Brent crude I'm looking at, March futures. Okay, and this is relevant to retail investors and private investors, and it's an important lesson on how money is made in the markets and how we do it as a fund. That red arrow was the short signal. Okay, roughly call it $85, and then we had the exit and the turnaround over there. And I'm going to teach you some important lessons about trading as well in a second. That was roughly $7, okay, which is 700 cents or 700 points. If you were a massive hedge fund, you might have done, I don't know, $1 million for every point it moved, in which case you made $700 million. It was as simple as that, and I'm sure some of the massive ones like AHL or Winton will have done that. If you're a private investor, you can get the same data as hedge funds do. You get the same prices and all the rest of it. So what might you have done? Well, if you're sensible, you'd have a demo account because you're learning and you wouldn't have made anything. But if you were a high net worth, you're probably doing about $10 a point. That's a high net worth. I've got high net worth friends who do that. They do it for fun. They've got other businesses. It's a side gig for them for fun. And they'll do about $10 per cent, so 700 cents or 700 points times 10, they would have made $7,000 profit in a day. Now, if you're a fund like ours, you would have done a little bit more, but $7,000 in a day. Okay, now some interesting pointers for you. One, as a private investor, you have access to that data and you can use brokers to do such a thing. Point two, you could have lost $7,000 in a day if you don't know what you're doing. So demo accounts and trading might not be for you. Point three, notice how the green signal just before that, we got wrong-footed. Previous to that, we were long. So we've got to be nimble enough, which is why algorithms are good, to be able to go long and then change our mind, go short. So we don't have to have an emotional decision. It's done process-driven. We spun this technology out of the hedge fund because we saw fintech companies getting massive billion-dollar valuations. So we wanted something which took our intellectual property, would have a demand globally, and the demand globally for us was the fact that it helps level the playing field a little bit between private investors and institutional traders, and helps them in their skills development and making sure they avoid the most common mistakes, psychological mistakes, mistakes regarding bias and so on, because they've got algorithms with signals instead. We wanted it to be a global business. We wanted to get venture capital funding, probably at a valuation of just maybe $30 to $50 million once we get a large group of people through cohorts through it using it. And then eventually IPO the company, and maybe in 10 years it'll be worth $1 billion. Simple as that. Because you've got clients around the world, you've got a scalability issue. Well, there's tens of thousands of users. People sometimes say, well, won't that mean that your hedge fund goes out of business? Well, if you could explain to me how and why, I'd like to know. That alone will not mean somebody gives you capital to invest on their behalf. It means you can trade your own capital, but it doesn't mean somebody else will do it because you don't own the ultimate underlying code. It's a bit like, oh, you made Coca-Cola available. That means you go out of business because people can buy Coca-Cola. No, you don't know the recipe. Okay, you get the signal, the output, but it doesn't allow you to then raise capital off other people because they'll say, do you own the intellectual property underlying code? Anyway, so that's a business lesson for you to learn as well. Anyway, hopefully you found all of that interesting. Do like and follow. Look at the links in the bio. And if you'd like to look at what we're doing and learn a bit more about it, download it. Have a look at pipspredator.com. By the way, for everybody who does download it, I give free signed copies of 2 of my most recent books as well. But you've got to be on the trial because we're trialing it and rolling it out. The links are in the bio. Go to pipspredator.com. Thank you.